You're not jealous when you see quarterbacks now making over $50 million a year, are you, Steve?
Wait a second. Tom Brady tells me last year, right before he retired, so a couple years ago, hey, Steve, the game today, the middle of the field is unpatrolled, the flats are open, and no one can hit me. And I'm making 60. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of regret. There's a little bit like, it's not necessarily the money as much. I mean, it's easy to say that, right? I understand that, but it really is. Watching the game today, it is such a quarterback's game. It's a great, for guys that played in a more rigored time, which, look, I'm not trying to say get off my lawn. I'm just saying the game changed, the rules changed, all for safety. I've said it 1,000 times. It's so obvious. It's not worth, arguing over. But the bottom line is that the game is really for the quarterback today. And if you can't, if you don't love playing quarterback today in the NFL, then you're freaking nuts. Then, by the way, I make 50 or 60 a year too, by the way.
Oh, jeez.
Well, so what's the difference between a great quarterback in your day versus a great quarterback now with a completely different game?
Yeah, it's just a rigor of like Tom Brady said, the space, because they changed the rules. Defenders couldn't launch. They couldn't cover the space. They couldn't patrol the area. They had to bring their legs and not just throw their heads at people. That it just slowed the game down and made more space for offense to go take advantage of. And Kyle Shanahan, the most innovative mind, Randy Reed, you've seen in other disciples of those guys go out in the league and really thrive because they recognize, just get the ball out in space. There's space everywhere that wasn't there before. So think about a quarterback. You ask me the difference. The difference is that the game it's like playing Canadian football. It's like there's more space. The field essentially became larger. And so in that way, it's easier to play quarterback because the field is larger, if you think, if you understand my analogy.
I totally do. It's 110 long, and it's even wider in Canada than it is here. And it makes me think about Brock Purdy because, Steve, the ultimate discussion we have here is Brock Purdy any good, or is he just a product of the system that Kyle is able to author that allows the field to be stretched that wide? So which is it? Is Brock any good, Steve?
Well, he's good because he's faced, your eyeball test watches him make decisions and how fast he is as a processor. And yes, Jimmy Garoppolo did this. Yes, Colin Kaepernick did this. 49er quarterbacks have done this before. And so, but I think the thing that makes him unique is that his processing power is so evident. Now, that comes with the physical, kind of presence that got him drafted where he got drafted. And so the game today for him, and I've said this before too, the challenge for him is that in championship football where he wants to hang out, his processing power can let him hang out as long as he has enough talent around him. You have to be able to go get those yards with your legs that all the other guys do in those championship formats that always does big first downs, big touchdowns, big, and to him, to Brock, he's got to figure out if I'm going to be a guy that's going to bang the door down as, let's just say they have an A-plus roster today. Let's say they have an A roster, then and a B-plus roster in a couple of years. Can he be that guy that has that ability to go be that dynamic force that Josh Allen is, that Patrick Mahomes is? Because those are the guys that are going to win those championship games because the yards are there. I just told you that the field is bigger. You got to go take them.
Dwight Clark Legacy Series in San Jose Thursday night. Steve Young is going to be there among a group of quarterbacks talking about leadership. More on that in just a second. And we do have a pair of tickets to give away after we chat with Steve. Steve, you just mentioned it. What if the roster goes from A-plus to A or even B-plus? Let's talk about that for a second. When Brock Purdy gets his contract, how does that change the dynamic of the team? And what do you think the roster looks like?
Well, that's why you've got to think about, if you trade a superstar, but you can get a number one draft pick and then, you draft well, and now you've got a replacement. It's not as, because you got to go train people, but the teams that are successful transitioning into this kind of multi-generations the last 15 years, or even the last 10 years, have figured out a way to replace superstars with rookie contracts that get into the system really quick, and they're great. They can tutor people quickly, right? They get ingested into the system very fast. So that's why the 49ers are very bold about it, because of all the places in the league. Like if I had a son that could play offense for the 49ers right now, I'm like, yes, because you're going to be whoever you are, you're going to be the best you can be. Like it's like the Army, right? Back in the day. Like, you're going to find out how really good you are, because the best you'll ever be is in this system where they teach you so well and they deploy you so uniquely, and they have a system that's in place that, gets the most out of you. That's where they're going to be able to sustain Brock Purdy making $50 million a year, because they're going to have a bunch of rookies that you don't know today. So they're going to hopefully be the guys that can take you to a Super Bowl on a rookie in the first 4 years of their rookie contract that are not the names that you see today. If you think the names that you see today, plus Brock Purdy being paid, are going to go to the Super Bowl in a couple of years, that's impossible. So that's impossible. So just get ready for a new name, a number for a first or second round draft, or even a third or fourth that's possible, that are going to be on a rookie contract that can take you the distance because of the coaching staff, because of how they develop and how John runs the program and how Jed owns it. I mean, they got a great thing going, and I think that they can turn it over and keep great talent coming in.
Okay, so how much pressure then is on this year?
Well, the most pressure was last year, right? Because last year the Rams are down, the whole division's down, Seahawks are down, the Cardinals are way down. In the playoffs, you play a Packer team that's been middling the whole time. You got an upstart Lions squad. You're like, that's how we get to the Super Bowl, and then you play a down year Chiefs team. Like, of all the times that you're set up to do it, that was it. But since the Ravens at Christmas, we did not. I mean, we just weren't the same. And we held Patrick Mahomes to 19 points. If you would have told me, look, Patrick Mahomes won't score 3 touchdowns, we're not going to win that game. Like, you're not going to walk over the Packers. We're not going to walk over the Lions. Like, things were haywire from Christmas on, and that's why last year was the time with the best roster in football to go get it done. And the fact is, it didn't happen. That happens. It happened to me. I get that. But now next year, I think the Rams will be better. I think Marvin Harris will make the Cards better. The Seahawks will be better. The Lions will be. The Packers will be better. Like, it's going to get better. And we're probably not, I don't know if we'll get better, but hopefully we can stay the same and still beat the rank and file with this amazing roster we have and the way that we are innovative, we deploy the guys on offense. Then, yeah, great. But what just happened was a big miss. It was too bad.
Well, you had the famous monkey off your back moment in the Super Bowl in '95. Is it starting to get to a point with Kyle that maybe that monkey's crawling up from his belt line up toward the shoulder, and maybe he's starting to get a little bit of that same syndrome?
It's not a syndrome. Like, Kyle knows he's top of the game. I mean, anyone would tell you that. That's what Andy would tell you. That's what Sean would tell you. Like, any coach is like, that dude's on top of it. So that's why Bill Walsh used to say, look, every year we build base camp at the playoffs, and then we attack the Super Bowl, and it's not going to happen every year, but we're going to be there to do it every year. And so he's doing championship things. They're developing championship. So we say, well, it's nothing unless you win the Super Bowl. I get that. I lived it in a very visceral way. And they're willing to live that. That's okay. But don't kid yourself that there's not a place that he and John and others in the system understand what we've been able to do. Yes, we understand we haven't closed it. We get it. We're going to go attack it next year. But there's not like it's not like they don't. There's not nothing in the bank. They're not bankrupt. Like they're doing things that are really hard, and they know it. And so they don't need us to tell them, oh, you're the monkey on your back. They get that part. But what did John say at the Super Bowl the week before the Super Bowl last year? Look at the players in the old days. We owe them. Like they're humble about it. They get it. Like we got to close it out. And it's painful, as you can imagine, but it doesn't mean that they are not the best in the league. They're not doing things that are like best in the league, like best in class. They just the monkey's a monkey, and you got to close it out.
Steve Young with us here, Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. Steve, take us there. What does that do to you? What did it do to you? What is it doing to Kyle Shanahan when you're experiencing that?
I still throw. I mean, I joke about it when I say I throw up in my mouth. I mean, I think I almost like it. It's visceral. Like I think about the '92 championship game, and I'm still like the opportunity that's in front of you. What you have right there. It's it never leaves you. I mean, the wins, they go by much faster than a big loss, and the painful losses, and especially when they're right there. And so championship losses are like they they stick and sting in a way that nothing else does. And that's probably because you hang around in that neighborhood. Like if you didn't hang around that neighborhood and you're like the Detroit Lions this year, like, oh, we were so close, man. What a year, huh? And everyone in Detroit's like, what a year. You guys are amazing. This is great. So start hanging around in that neighborhood and living in that neighborhood. Then pretty soon people are like, hey, look, we're used to you being in this neighborhood. Let's go take it down. And so that's where we lived, and I like that. I like that experience. And Kyle likes it too, or he wouldn't be living in that neighborhood either. So I don't think he's afraid of it. And people want to say, oh, he can't win the big one. Like he's won a bunch of big ones. Now there's one he's got to go get. He gets that. But don't think that he's starting from scratch. He's not like, the Saints this year or whoever's starting from the bottom. I mean, there's some teams that no, they don't live in this neighborhood. They don't know what it's even like. They don't even get to travel through. They can't even pay the toll.
Right.
Come on, man.
Exactly. And yet Brock Purdy has had just a couple of years, and he's been in the neighborhood. That's all he's ever known is that neighborhood. So, yeah, I mean, what do you say to Brock Purdy after this disappointment, which was different than last year's disappointment when he got hurt? What do you say to Brock Purdy about, not only not taking it for granted, but how do you take that next step to become a champion?
Well, for Brock, when it happens so quickly and from such a distance, when he's the last person chosen, it's a movie, right? The Brock Purdy story is a movie, and it'll be made. But in the middle of it right now, he's doing what he needs to do, right? Stay locked down. Don't do anything that's going to create a lot of headlines. Work on your strength and conditioning. Get smarter. Have your processing power get a little bit better. Remain kind of humble about it. Go attack it again. That's the thing he's going to, and that's what he's doing. But again, if he can't kind of transition his game to be more dynamic, then he's going to need those A+ rosters to help him get there because it's just the nature of the game today.
Steve, there were trade rumors, shopping, and then a first-round draft pick. Are we headed for a year of drama in the wide receiver room?
Nah, again, what I said, if you think the same names that are here today, the superstars of the 49ers today, are going to be in a couple years and attacking the Super Bowl, it's not going to be. So the drama's already started in a way, and everybody, I think people understand the game today. And so I don't know, I think they run such a good locker room and such, I don't sense that they'll be, look at the quarterback room a couple years ago when Jimmy went to the Super Bowl. I mean, or when Brock was hurt, and when Brock was going and Jimmy was hurt, it was what a weird quarterback room. But the system's in place, the culture's in place. There's an overarching way that we do it, and that's why I give John so much credit for building it and for Kyle. So in that way, yeah, there's going to be some drama. There's going to be some awkwardness. I mean, we won a lot of Super Bowls with awkward quarterback rooms. So, I mean, wide receiver rooms, that's fine too. Again, you're hanging around in the right neighborhoods. There's some awkwardness, but everybody gets it, and let's go win one.
Is there additional pressure on Brock just being the Niner quarterback? Alex Smith spoke to it before, saying for his first few years he was a little unsure, and then you were there and you followed Joe and you raised the bar and you were a legend, and even Jeff Garcia had a great run. Does Brock have a little bit more of a tough mantle than a quarterback for another franchise?
Yeah, because again, we're back to that same analogy that seems to be working for me. He lives in a neighborhood that not a lot of quarterbacks get to live in, so that comes with a certain expectation and a certain rigor. And look at Jimmy today. I mean, a couple years ago, he was in the Super Bowl and was the king, right? He was one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and now he can't find a job. So, I think Brock sees that and says, look, I'm in a great spot. I'm going to make hay, and you're going to have to, tear this out. I'll never leave this place, right? That's what I would have told Jimmy a couple years ago. In fact, I think I did. Don't ever leave this place. This is where you're going to be. As good as you'll ever be is right here. And we've seen that with him. We've seen that with Brock as well.
Steve, we keep asking you for your advice for Brock Purdy, and maybe you're misunderstanding. We're asking you to give advice to the fact that he's throwing out the first pitch at the Giants-Dodgers game tonight. What would you tell him for that?
What I want to do is put the Jugs gun on, and then I'll throw one out, and we'll see who threw it harder.
Hey,
there you go.
Hey, have you ever done this before? Did you ever throw out the first pitch?
Yeah, we did it with Jerry, and I did it for the playoff game, and then I've done it in a few years. Yeah, I've done it. I want to say 3 or 4 times.
Okay, how'd it go?
That's amazing.
Anything embarrassing happen?
Good. Good. I threw a slider. That's down and in.
Of course, tough on lefties, as I recall.
Yes. Yes, to come from the side. What was it like? What was the guy? Remember the lefty, the guys come underneath back in the day? Stottlemyre, or what is his name?
Oh,
the guy?
Well, I mean, lefty. I remember Quisenberry and Tacoma,
Bruce Sutter,
all those guys.
Yeah. No, that was not me, but I could do it.
Yeah.
I love when I love trying. In high school, I used to try it, come from down underneath. That was awesome.
You also could waltz into this event on Thursday night, look at the other three quarterbacks, and be like, "What do you all know about leadership?"
Right.
I don't see any rings on your fingers.
No, it's going to be fun. They're good friends. All of them great friends in the spirit of Dwight Clark and all that he is and was. And then what we're doing with Golden Heart. You understand the Golden Heart Foundation and the fund really does support 49ers as their years go on and the special needs that they have, and we're there for them. And it was really started by Ronnie Lott, Harris Barton, and a number of other people, Brent Jones. And the spirit of it is that we take care of our own. And this is a fundraiser to support 49ers through the years. And this is not 49ers that you know the names. These are 49ers that were here for a lunch, but they're still 49ers. And they're struggling, and they have no way out, and we can help them, whatever it might be. And the Golden Heart Fund does that. So this whole evening is in the spirit of what Dwight Clark talked about. It's like we take care of people. It goes back to the original days of the 49ers and the big run through the 80s and 90s and now today. So when you think about coming and supporting it, just know you're supporting people that gave their bodies and souls to the 49ers, and now we're kind of paying it forward, paying it back to them.
It's a beautiful thing, Steve, and we're going to be doing our show there, and we cannot wait to be there and check the whole thing out and talk to you again and all that. And then also, speaking of helping people out, wanted to give you an opportunity to share with our audience about the Forever Young Foundation.
Oh, wow. All right. 30 years ago, I started it. We just plug along. We're one of the highest-rated children's charities in the Charity Navigator. Very efficient with the money that we take in. Very serious about deploying it in really cool ways. My wife and I and now the kids and we raise money through golf tournaments and different things. We have a pretty good budget every year, and we do projects in hospitals, a lot of different. We've done schools. Jerry and I do the 8 to 80 zones where we kind of level the playing field technologically in inner city schools. We've done that all over the country in 6 or 7 places. That's all part of Forever Young, and we just peck away at it, take our little corner of the garden and try to put some seeds in the ground and hope to grow something good. So that's what we've done. I appreciate you asking.
Yeah, no, Steve, what a treat to talk to you. And we can't wait for Thursday night, man. Thank you so much.
All right, Thursday night. We'll see you guys. Take care.
Steve.
There it is. Steve Young. Who wants to go?